Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome to a special chess opening study that I prepared for you today. This study will contain two amazing chess games in the traditional line of the Najdorf Sicilian. The first game that we'll analyze is an amazing, spectacular, really immortal chess game played by the legendary magician from Riga, by the legendary Mikhail Tal against his chess teacher Alexander Koblenz, in which Mikhail Tal found an amazing queen sacrifice as a possibility in the early stage of the game to beat the Najdorf Sicilian. So Mikhail Tal will sacrifice his queen immediately just to launch really an incredible and immortal attack. But actually, when I analyze the game a little bit deeper, this queen sacrifice is actually not so good because the top engines of these days don't like this queen sacrifice. They say it's a mistake, it's not a good continuation. But surprisingly, when I analyzed even the game deeper and when I analyzed many databases, no one broke this opening theory. Many mistakes have been played afterwards. So it's such a amazing line in which you have to be careful all over the board, in which you have to be careful till the end of the game, because if you make a tiny little mistake, then the game is over for black. So it's such an amazing queen sacrifice theory. And then analyze, as I said, many databases, many games I've searched, and I only found one guy that broke Mikhail Tal's opening theory, this queen sacrifice opening theory, and that's our second game that we'll analyze today. So as I said, first of all, let's see now this incredible queen sacrifice, but then how to defend it in a proper way, because the guy that broke Mikhail Tal's opening theory played then afterwards the game without inaccuracies, mistakes, or blunders. So let's see now the studies with the white pieces. Here Mikhail Tal opened with the move e4. Alexander Koblenz, his teacher, response was c5, the Sicilian. Knight to f3, d6, modern variations. We have now the move d4, c takes d4, knight to d4, knight to f6, hitting the pawn, knight to c3, and now after move a6, we have now the spectacular Najdorf Sicilian. Bishop to g5, attacking now the knight in some lines, of course, threatening to play bishop to f6, messing up the pawn structure, creating here maybe a double pawn structure on the king side. So that's why e6. Koblenz connects now the queen to the knight, and now f4, going immediately aggressively into the game, followed with queen to f3, e5, f5. These are now the main tactical goals here by white. We have bishop to e7, queen to f3, queen to c7, and here Tal immediately castled. Look at this. Mikhail Tal has already a good, I would say, here development. He has brought out many pieces into the game. What he has to do is, of course, somehow only include the bishop into the game. We have now knight from b to d7, and now Mikhail Tal plays a rare sideline. Again, the engines don't like this move, because now in the continuation of the game, black can of course proceed with b5, b4, and similar stuff. Instead of this move bishop to e2, let's really also practice some opening theory here. The best way for white is to proceed with g4, then after h6 you pick up here the knight, and then you continue the pressure with the move h4. So this would be the most correct way here by white. But okay, after bishop to e2, Koblenz plays now first of all the move h6, bishop to h4, and now after move b5, we have reached now the critical moment of this opening theory. So here Mikhail Tal, the legend of the sport, plays now a dubious sideline, which I said no one really broke afterwards. I've analyzed now many great games in GM level, international master level, FIDE master level, and no one found, except the one player that we'll cover later, except one player, no one really found a good response to the next move that Mikhail Tal played, and it was the move e5. And look at this, the game is already exploding here in the center of the board. The e5 move is of course liberating now this attack against the rook. So in order to survive this, you have to play here bishop to b7, and now Mikhail Tal, believe me or not, plays an amazing e takes f6. He sacrifices the queen immediately, but of course this pawn is very progressive. The pawn can now attack now the g7 pawn, the e7 bishop, and now really the game becomes really a great game now for both sides. After e takes, instead of this move e takes f6, what you could do is to play maybe queen to g3, has been played in chess history. I see now many games in the database also in this line, but this is not working. That's why d takes e5, f takes e5. You can pick up now this pawn on e5. If you pick up now maybe here the pawn on g7, then there is the problem of queen to e3 followed with rook to g8, and the game is over here for white. So this is not working. So the whole concept with queen to g3 is finally not so good. So that's why you have to now go into this queen sacrifice theory with the move e takes f6 that of course the legend Mikhail Tal played. This is here bishop to f3. We have now bishop to f3 hitting now the rook, and now Alexander Koblenz played a mistake immediately. He didn't find the best continuation here. He played now the move d5, and the best way here is to play bishop to f6. So bishop to f6 is the only way, and that's our analysis afterwards. We'll analyze now the correct way here by black with the move bishop to f6. But look at this, after move d5 that Alexander Koblenz played, here Mikhail Tal played an amazing follow-up with knight takes e6. Look at this. If you play f takes e7 here in this line, this is not good because of queen to f4 and taking the bishop. Even if you try to f takes g7, also this line is not so good because black could defend with rook to g8. Then if you try something like bishop to g3, knight to b6 is then a good continuation for black. Black should be much better here with the opportunity to play knight to c4. Black is up in material, has maybe lost the privilege of castling, but has also gained a healthy pawn structure here with f7 e6 d5. It's a solid position. When the knight comes on c4, b4 is going to happen, maybe even a5 a4 and similar stuff. So this is maybe then a good continuation of course for black. So that's why Mikhail Tal continued here with an aggressive knight takes e6. Look at this crazy follow-up. Mikhail Tal already sacrificed the queen. Now he's even sacrificing his knight here in the center of the board. Alexander Koblenz accepts now the challenge with f takes e6, and now bishop to h5. And here Alexander Koblenz shows also his great tactical knowledge. Many of us, I think, would make already a mistake here, because if you try something like king to d8, the game is over. Believe me or not, here for black. Then after f takes e7, maybe the king can escape to c8, and then a rook to d4 can be played. Maybe the queen is coming here, but the follow-up is simply nothing really black can do here. Maybe you're trying g5. We can promote here in some lines. Look at this. This is just one continuation that could be possible. Now you can even sacrifice the knight here in the center of the board, and now in a potential line. Of course, white and black don't have to play the game like this, but I wanted to show the attacking flow that white gets here in this line is completely winning here. Very probably king to d8 is also here not a good continuation for black. Even if you try to escape to f8 in this particular position, again it's not working, because after f takes e7 you have to now bring the king to g8, but now we can simply promote. Black has to give up now the rook, and maybe in a potential line like this, again white should be much better. White has gained a rook and two minor pieces for the lost queen. This tactical sequence is winning. So even if you advance this pawn, if you don't want to lose it, then this pawn is hanging. So probably black will lose both of these pawns in the center of the board. Again, game over. So after bishop to h5, Koblenz played the only correct move here, g6. This move liberates now the square for the king. The king could maybe escape somewhere here after the capture of the bishop. Here Tal plays bishop to g6, king to f8, f takes e7, and you see now king to g7 is possible. The square is now available because in the first place here Alexander Koblenz sacrificed the pawn but created some breathing spaces for the king. So now bishop to g3. Here Mikhail Tal continues to pressure. The obvious threat is, of course, if you play something like king to g6, is then the move f5, and you would lose here the queen immediately. So the best way after bishop to g3 for Alexander Koblenz, and now the engine says it should be an equal game, is here to proceed with b4. Then if white continues something like f5, then you can play queen to c4. That's your goal here, to somehow sneak in with the queen. Then after f takes e6, you can pick up this one, but still the engine says in a potential line, I've analyzed now this line deeper with the Stockfish 17 chess engine, again the engine says it's draw because of this brutal sequence. I just wanted to show you how chess can be so brutal, so complicated. Look at this. In this line, white will probably have to step back with the king, and now you have to stay with your king on c1 or on d2, because if you play king to e2, if you go towards the center of the board, then it's not working in a potential sequence like this. This is then completely winning. This comes with the check, will pick up then the bishop, and the game should be over. So instead of this move king to e2, you see you have to stay always with king to c1, queen to a1, king to king to d2, and it should be a thematic draw. So after bishop to g3, instead of this move b4 that should have been the best move for Koblenz, he played now the move knight to f6, which gives now again a huge advantage here for Mikhail Tal. And here Mikhail Tal should have probably played his move f5. F5 is then a great continuation, because then after something like queen takes e7, you can play here rook to e1. And now, unfortunately for the beauty of the game, Mikhail Tal didn't play this move. Here he could have immediately destroyed maybe here Koblenz, because after potential queen to c5, bishop to e5 can be played, e takes f5, then you go like this, bishop to h5, rook to d8, and then you attack the queen. Then you can pick up even this one. If you play something like this, look at this, the position is collapsing here for black. Again, just a brutal Stockfish 17 line. No one, I think, can calculate the positions in a such deep way. Then after rook to d8, we pick up this one, and in a potential endgame, of course, white should be much better with the next pawn. So that was maybe here Mikhail Tal's best continuation after potential move f5. But instead of this move, Tal played rook to e1. He continued here the pressure against this pawn on e6. Again, Alexander Koblenz had a drawish chance. He should have played here queen to d7, simply connecting now the queen to the pawn, and black should be solid so far. Of course, still a very dangerous game, but black equalizes the game now with this move. Here, instead of this move queen to d7, Koblenz played b4, which allowed here Mikhail Tal again this move f5. Then after queen to e7, you can pick up this one, queen to e6, f takes e6, and then queen here the king on g6 is again, actually, believe me or not, a good continuation here for white, although white is down the exchange. But after a couple more moves, this pawn is rolling here. You cannot pick up again this one because of the fork on c7, so this is not working. So again, a much better continuation after knight to g3, h takes g3. Look at this. White has this very annoying and progressive pawn now on the e file, and now after move e7, again, I would say a completely winning position here for white. So this was the way to go finally for Mikhail Tal to play the move f5. But instead of this move, he played rook takes e6, in which again black is now equalizing the game. Here black should be even slightly better, but here after b takes c3 and f5 that Mikhail Tal played, now Alexander Koblenz makes the crucial mistake. He plays now the move queen to b7, and this was not good. Now finally he's losing the game, because a better choice is to play c takes b2. Then after something like king to b1, you get again the queen here closer to the action. Then after bishop to e5, now it's finally good to go into this line. Now you can escape from this attack, and with the whole rook up, this should be completely winning here for black. But instead of this move c takes b2, queen to b7 was played by Koblenz, and now b3 by Tal. Queen to d7, again with this idea to play queen takes e6 followed with king to g6, but now it's not working, because after bishop to e5, we have now this idea, queen to e6, we have f takes e6, king takes g6. Tal is now down a whole rook, but now Tal continues with rook to f1. No rook can, of course, protect now anymore this piece, because this f8 square is taken. We have now knight to h7, bishop to h8. Great move here by Mikhail Tal, but after king to rook to h8, here Mikhail Tal plays a beautiful rook take, rook to f8, forces now here the trades of rooks. Koblenz has to take, but now e7, Koblenz has to go closer with the king towards the knight. Tal takes, and after king to f8, king to d1. In this particular position, Koblenz resigned. So what's the issue? Of course, Mikhail Tal will pick up both of these pawns. Probably if black goes close to the action to the pawn, then we have here this 2 versus 1 pawn majority, in which black would in one moment have to stop here the progress of these pawns, and then Mikhail Tal can grab both of these pawns, and this is then completely winning here for white. So you see, very unpleasant queen sack theory here by Mikhail Tal. No one broke that except one man, and that's the game that we're covering today. So as I said, after move e5, there is a good defense here for black. And now we see the second game of our analysis, and it's now an amazing gameplay by Najdorf 66. So it's just a profile on Lichess against Nurlan Imbraev. Nurlan Imbraev, great grandmaster from Kazakhstan. He's a strong player. He's very amazing tactician. And here in the same position in this Mikhail Tal chess opening theory, that's the only guy that found really a great way how to escape from this attack. First of all, he played the correct move that also in the beginning Koblenz did with the move bishop to b7. Here his opponent Najdorf 66. So it was a blitz game, believe me or not, and Nurlan Imbraev found the best plan here, the optimal way. You see now that although Imbraev will play the best ways in the beginning, there are still so many sidelines in which you can make a mistake. So that's why this Mikhail Tal queen sacrifice here is just so complicated. In the game, after bishop to f3, bishop takes f3, the best way here for black is to proceed instead of this move d5 that we have seen previously, Koblenz did. Here the best way is to pick up simply the pawn here with your bishop on f6. And now after bishop to f6, knight to f6, bishop to a8, that's the way here to proceed. Again, Nurlan Imbraev, the only player that found the correct choice here, he played now kingside castling. Kingside castling is here the best way to proceed, because you're simply activating now, you further your pieces. You allow maybe bishop to f3, but now you can go into a favorable endgame. Instead of this move bishop to a8, believe me or not, in chess history, only d5 has been played. I see now many games here. Van Kampen against Vtachnik, Miloš Perunović against Dejan Antic. All of the players in the world played with the black pieces the move d5, and they were hoping to finally maybe lock out the bishop here. They're finally trying maybe to somehow lock the bishop, get an extra piece, and then go into a favorable endgame. But this move d5 is actually a mistake by black, and Nurlan Imbraev found this idea here after move d5. Black and white can go with bishop to c6, king to e7, and then you go with g3. You're trying maybe b4, but now after knight to e2, here, believe me or not, white is even better. White would have again 2 minor pieces and the rook against the queen. So this is now completely winning. Although it's still a complicated game, but you see in chess history many times this mistakes with the move d5 has been played. So here Nurlan Imbraev plays the correct way. Kingside castling allows here his opponent Najdorf 66 to escape, but now b4. That's the continuation here. That's how you proceed here. You attack the knight in the game, knight to e4, knight takes e4, bishop to e4, d5. Now you're locking the bishop in a different way, but now the bishop is at least not active on this side of the board. After bishop to f3, we see the bishop is out of game. Queen to f4, great move here by Nurlan Imbraev, because he has to now, his opponent had to now escape. And again, a critical moment. Now I've analyzed the Lichess database a little bit further, and many players have made the mistake e5. E5 is a common mistake in this position. If you watch now the database, many players have done this. It seems tempting, but actually after knight to c6 and maybe you try e4, the knight to e7, knight to d5 knight to d5 comes with an attack against the queen. Then you play bishop to e2, and suddenly, believe me or not, white is again better. So here, instead of this move e5, that's why I think this game by Nurlan Imbraev is really great, because he found again the only way to make any progress in this position with the move a5. He's continuing simply the attacking flow here. He's saying, okay, your pieces are well placed, but at least with this f6, f7, e6, d5 structure, he's restricting now all of these pieces. He's not allowing this knight to get into the game. He's not allowing this bishop to get into the game. So now he's trying, of course, here to somehow open a position in front of in front of white king, include of course the rook into the game with the support of the queen. This could be then very dangerous here for white, and that's the only way, believe me or not, to beat this Mikhail Tal queen sacrifice opening theory here. Here after move a5, g3 played by his opponent Nurlan Imbraev, played now queen to d6, rook to e1, and now a4. Simply continue the pressure here on this side of the board. Knight to e2, queen to c5. Look how white's minor pieces are restricted. They're really having a tough time to get into the game. We have now the move c3. A mistake here by Nero66, huge blunder. He opened now the position too much in front of this king. Here he should have played knight to d4, but again with rook to c8, black is much better with the potential attack against the c2 pawn, also with ideas to play a3, b3, queen to c3, and similar stuff. So these are also the options how to make progress here. So here after move c3, rook to b8 by Nurlan Imbraev, opening up now of course the b file. If something clears here, then the king could be in danger. Rook to c1, attacking now indirectly the queen, but now d4. Great move here by Nurlan Imbraev. He found this in a 3+0 game. Really amazing stuff. d4, what should you do? If you play here knight to f4, then b takes c3, obviously opens the position. You couldn't maybe prolong the game with knight to d3, but then after queen to f5, again very messy position. Maybe bishop to e4, then queen to b5 comes here. So too much pressure against white's king. So here after move d4, knight to d4, we have now finally b takes c3. You cannot take of course rook to c3 because of queen to c3. Knight to c6, attacking now the rook. Here rook to b2, king to a1, and now after queen to a3, in this particular position Nero66 resigns. So great game here by Nurlan Imbraev. Really amazing theory. Let's go really to this important, I would say, critical moments of the game. So after move e5, very important to play bishop to b7. Then after you take bishop to f3, bishop to f3, you give up the rook here. After knight to f6, you give up the rook on a8, but now you have to castle. Don't play d5 because, as we said, bishop to c6 is going to happen. g3. The problem about this line is that black get this extra tempo against the king, and again fix then here the pawn on f4 with the move g3. And now after knight to e2, this game is pretty solid for white. The engine likes now white's position much better. So it's now of course tough game to play for both sides, but in one game that I found in the database, Milos Perunovic against Dejan Antic won the game here with the white pieces. So the correct way is then simply to castle, then to play b4. After knight to e4, you get an extra tempo. Here you see no checks were possible. Then queen to f4 is a different story. Then afterwards you don't play e5, you just include the rook into the game and push the pawns here on the queen side. So great analysis, great, I would say, opening theory by Mikhail Tal. As I said, no one until Nurlan Imbraev broke this theory in a correct way. Many players have made mistakes, so in my opinion still a sharp line, but with many great options for both sides. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this analysis. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting theory of the Najdorf Sicilian for sure. If you want to see some other beautiful sharp tactical games like this, check out our commented chess games and also our commented chess games played by computer series. And if you like this content, subscribe to my channel. See you here with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.